I was reading a book the other day. Reading a book? Yes, it's all about civilization or something. A nutty kind of a book. Do you know that the guy says that machinery is going to take the place of every profession?
What do you say?
No.
Tomorrow night?
No.
Next year?
No.
Good. Because by me it's this way. The longer they know, the harder they yes.
Well, I don't want to be honorable with you unless it's absolutely necessary.
Lucky to have our next guest in here is John O'Connor. We call him our legal Spiegel, and he's been doing this for me for years now. I don't even know how. Someday you're going to have to send me a bill, John. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
When I asked you to come on, you had written a piece about Bidengate versus Watergate and which was more profound, and I couldn't wait to get you on, and that's what we're going to talk about. But you wrote one now, and just for folks to know, you're a trial lawyer. You practiced law in San Francisco, since 72? Tried cases state, federal court. You served as an assistant U.S. attorney in Northern California. I mean, you got the chops. So, but what came out is an op-ed here between the time we signed you up and now, and I'd like to start there if we could. You did an op-ed about prohibited access, a cache of FBI corruption. As I don't know how long they've been in here now, 150, 160 days. What is it that you're chatting about? What's this cache of corruption, and will they be able to prove it, or is it just more suspicion?
Well, for background for your audience, for the last decade, we, of course, have had Donald Trump on the scene, but intermixed with that is some tremendously corrupt activities to get rid of Donald Trump. And then when we have Joe Biden on the scene, both of the 2020 election and in his own corrupt dealings through his son Hunter, or at least allegedly corrupt, I would say, you have a whole witch's brew of potential corruption. You've got Russiagate and so forth, which was a hoax. You've got canards and hoaxes all over the place. Now what we find is, that is a background. So the last decade has been tremendously interesting in terms of potential scandals and frauds. Now, what we've just discovered is that the FBI has an information gathering system. In every one of these things, the FBI was somewhat involved as an investigation activity or outfit or whatever. Now we're finding that there was a cache of materials that the FBI kept in its information system, which no one knew existed, and they would not tell anybody it existed. They had a cache that they told people existed for their secret and classified documents that they called restricted access. So now we have investigators like John Durham, the special counsel. We have Michael Horowitz, the inspector general. We have James Homer, the congressman, all investigating various things about Trump, about Biden, and about all these various scandals and so forth. But lo and behold, they did not have access to the most secret stuff. There's a cache that no one knew about called prohibited access. Most FBI agents did not know it existed, but the leadership did, and they would put things in there. So what is interesting to me is in there should be the keys to so many of these things that happened over the last decade that the FBI was directly involved in, especially our friend James Comey. And it just turns out that he was really in office a little bit more than a decade, and had probably cleaned out the headquarters to get nothing but partisan saluters in there in the last decade. So what's interesting is what is in there, and there should be, common sense tells us, answers to so many different things. If the FBI does not want you to see a document, it's for one of two reasons or both. Either they are hiding things that inculpate the Bureau in corrupt activities, which I believe is real, is a very real possibility, and in fact, I've written about that. Or number two, they would exculpate their victims like Trump. They would show that Trump was innocent. So let me give you one example, Al, and I'll shut up for a bit.
No, you keep going.
in Russia collusion, that was a hoax thought up by Hillary Clinton, that somehow Donald Trump had colluded with Putin. And she used Russian agents to prove it, which is so silly. But not only was she doing that, but the outfit that really carried the heavy load, that was just a political stunt by Hillary. The FBI picked it up and made it into something real and started an investigation. And that's where Russiagate was born and tore our country apart for 4 years.
Yeah.
Now, what did the FBI know about this and about what turns out in hindsight to be false applications to get warrants to surveil the entire Trump campaign, for example? This country was in chaos. And then and they tried to impeach Trump on this and so forth. And yet, so that's just one aspect. Then look at Ukrainian corruption. The FBI, unbeknownst to most people, was directly involved in Ukrainian corruption and the question of Biden's involvement in Ukrainian corruption. The corruption investigations were taken over by the FBI, very few people know, in Ukraine. And so was Biden dirty in Ukraine? Was the later impeachment of Trump a joke that people who in the know knew, and the FBI was setting up Trump because Trump had said, remember, he was impeached because he said he wanted Ukraine to investigate Biden's corruption.
Yeah.
Now, what will these documents tell us? Because the FBI has information about that corruption. So it is fascinating, all the different things, Al, that should come out of this newly discovered cache of documents, which the aptly named Kash Patel, different spelling, Kash Patel is now looking at. And of course, some are going to be classified, some have to be declassified and so forth. But this is a bombshell. Right as we're watching the Iran stuff, the real domestic bombs are going off here. This thing is huge. And everyone's attention should at least be focused to some degree. I mean, perhaps off to the side, but this is going to be the mother of all scandals.
Well, Willett, and here's what I'm going to ask you. Why in the world would Comey or any of these FBI directors have this secret file? I mean, you don't want anybody else to see it, but you're not necessarily going to be the FBI director forever. And you put things in there that, I guess, if you thought it would let Trump off the hook and you hate Trump, why wouldn't you destroy it instead of save it in a file? And then how did they end up finding it? Do we know how? Did somebody say, hey, have you seen the secret file? And this is all in the computers, I presume.
It's in the computer, but the way they've got it set up, you can't get in there. Even as to physical documents, there was a room in the FBI that no one knew about, under lock and key, that had some paper documents, and that wasn't known either. So remember this. Trump barely won that election in 2016. Mm-hmm. Had he not won it, had Hillary won it, all this would be lost to posterity. We would never know about this. But they can't actually destroy the documents, because if that's ever found out, and there would be a trail of that somewhere, now that's a crime. You're now destroying documents that are official government records. But hiding them isn't a crime, sir? How is that any different if you put in a top secret thing that even the Kash, who's now the head of the FBI, wasn't going to find? How is that the same thing? That's what I say. I'm saying exactly that. Now, here's where it's a crime. Here's where it becomes a crime.
Okay.
If and to the extent that Horowitz, Comer, Durham, ask for documents, I think probably people responding to the document request may not even know about this. So you put somebody else out there to be the signatory. Mm-hmm. As long as Comey and Andrew McCabe, his assistant, are not the ones signing on a declaration that says no other documents exist, nobody is the wiser. And I think those guys are clever enough. Remember this, to catch a thief, you got to be a thief. And these guys know how to avoid criminal exposure as best they can. And so what happens is they hide that. I do think, though, that if you know that the answer of your subordinate is false to a subpoena, And you know that. And that's what this cache may show, that they knew that those were false responses. Now, I think that's a crime.
Okay.
And so that's where we get into this. Now, once we get into the documents themselves, we're going to have all kinds of substantive crimes because we're going to show, it's going to be shown when you compare what we would discover to what the public statements are of Comey, those are going to be more crimes. Then you have the 4 applications to the FISA court to surveil Trump without disclosing. So once you apply to a court, concealment is itself a misstatement. You don't have to say we don't have any more documents. If you don't say it, it's concealment of a material fact. That's a crime. So that's why I say, Al, there's going to be a ton of crimes here. I think it's just a question of getting to it.
You intrigue me, and I know you know your stuff, so I want to go to break. On the other side, I'm going to throw this out at you. If it's that bad, if it is truly that, will we even get to see it? We're going to find the Epstein files. We're going to see those, and they're all blackened out. We're going to go through and see all the, the Kennedy assassination, and did they figure that out? All the papers are out there. It seems like we get excited. We're going to figure out the truth, and then the black pen comes out, and we don't read much. We'll talk about it with John O'Connor right after this on the Al Travis Show.
All the special interests are represented in St. Paul. But who speaks for you? Center of the American Experiment does. Our policy fellows dig into the tough issues that matter to you and offer common sense solutions on education, taxes, crime, and energy. American Experiment is the trusted, nonpartisan voice of Minnesotans like you. We are working every day to make Minnesota a better, safer, more prosperous place. We are American Experiment. Go to americanexperiment.org to learn more.
Dust from gravel roads and driveways does more than make your car dirty inside and out. It gets down into your lungs, and it's bad for your health. Now there's an environmentally friendly solution for your dust problems. It's called DustLock. DustLock can control all your summer dust problems with just one application. Protect your vehicle and your lungs. Learn more at dustlock.com.
Amongst friends, the Al Travis Show. Nothing but talk.
I've got him, John O'Connor here. John, here's my issue. So Comey literally spends 25 minutes on national TV talking about all the crimes and things that Hillary Clinton did, from bleach bidding this and doing all this stuff. And then you're thinking, oh, here we go. And at the end, but this is America, and we don't do this to our political rivals. We're not doing anything. Donald Trump, on the other hand, as I understand it, pays out to his lawyer, Stormy Daniels, what do you do not disclose thing, whatever. And he gets 37 felony counts. We hear we're going to find out who shot John F. Kennedy, and then it comes out as nothing we didn't see already. We're going to get the Epstein list, but oh, by the way, it's completely blacked out. Is this cache going to be the same way, this cache of evidence with the FBI? Are we all just getting ourselves, okay, here we go, for nothing?
I don't think so. I think that if, again, we've always got the declassification issue. We don't want to declassify something that we think is presently harmful. I think enough time has passed so that who cares about the Ukrainian corruption? And as a matter of fact, it might help us today to find out that actually President Zelensky
is pocketing it or something,
is part of the deal. His supporters, Igor Kolomoisky, the most corrupt guy in the entire world. I mean, he stole billions, and he supported Zelensky, and there was much missing in the appropriations to Ukraine that nobody's ever accounted for. So, you're going to find some dirt on people that maybe will be uncomfortable to produce. I think Trump himself, one of the things that's going to be problematic is, and it always happens, I see this every day as a litigator for 53 years, when you open up something, there's always going to be a little dirt on you, even if you're the prevailing party. There's always going to be things that you got to explain. And oftentimes they're false statements. It's the other side's false statements, and you don't like to hear them. We don't like to hear false statements. To me, a lawyer, I say, okay, so what if you're giving a false statement about my client? I can prove it. I can have fun with that. But my client doesn't like it. My client doesn't like that out. And so you're going to find that with Trump especially. Trump, I think, is always going to have problems with the fact that, 10% of the stuff that comes out is going to be anti-Trump. And even though I don't think there's a there as to Trump, there's no major, any problems with him. He's just basically a guy that, it blusters and gets in trouble sometimes, but does not do the things that Comey did or Biden did. I mean, Trump is not selling in the United States out to Ukraine or to China as Biden did. So that's one of the problems we're going to run into is, number one, declassifying stuff. Number two, releasing things that might be embarrassing to Trump.
And how do these get out? Does Kash Patel just have to go through them? Is a guy like you put on a Freedom of Information Act? I want to see the entire file. And then who forces this to come out? How do we find out about it? Did you say who came up with this? Who figured it out?
Look, the Freedom of Information Act isn't going to work for various boring reasons about all the exceptions. They can withhold stuff. I used to defend these cases. Okay. So the question is, but Kash Patel has got his classified, he's got his security clearances. He's looking at everything right now.
Okay.
So what he'll do is, I think he's going to recommend to Trump that he declassify this stuff to the greatest degree possible, and then he'll release them. And I think the best vehicle to do that would be to say Comer in Congress. He better get a move on, because once the midterms come up, and there may be a Democratic-controlled House, and it may be a different vehicle for doing much about it publicly. But they still are in charge of the prosecution, so you can bring this also to the grand jury in various guises. Another problem they're going to run into, Al, not to get technical, is you got statute of limitations issues.
Well, and again, I'm finding this interesting. If it isn't national safety secrets, if there's some paper in there talking about our plan to go get the Russia or the Ukraine or whatever, if it isn't any of that, then all this is protecting each other. And I get him now. I'm more concerned it's going to show the FBI was not squeaky clean. The FBI has been working a partisan thing. And even Kash Patel's going to have to decide, can I let that out? And I don't know that I believe wholeheartedly we're going to see it. You had 30 seconds.
Well, I think he will. I think Kash's mission is No, I'm pretty clear about this. That I think he has no. He's a brave guy. I know him a little bit. My daughter knows him a little bit. Knows him well. They used to work together. This guy's guy's not afraid, and he's pretty good on this. And so I don't think Kash Patel's going to be the problem. I think if there's sensitivity, it'll be somebody in Trump's inner circle.
Okay. We didn't get to talk about Biden gate versus Watergate. I'm going to get you back on as soon as I can. I love this story. I think we got to keep an eye on it. You're on the top of it. Postgatebooks.com. You can go there and get his Watergate books. John, I thank you. I do for taking time to be here. Thank you, sir.
Great talking to you.
If it's your turn to host a game,